practical miracle. John Miksa was wrapping up a 22-mile bike ride when he was hit by a car and immediately 100% paralyzed from the neck down. But thanks to a fast-acting trauma team and a surgical procedure, his paralysis was reversed. And just 3 weeks after the accident, John walked out of the hospital. John Miksa joins us with his doctor, neurosurgeon Scott Leary, this morning. Nice to see both of you, and welcome to Fox and Friends.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you.
So, John, I have to ask you, and a lot of viewers wondering the same thing this morning, how were you able to get up after just 21 days after this accident and walk out of the hospital?
Well, Clayton, there were so many amazing parts to this story. As you know, I was taking this short 22-mile bike ride, and I got hit by this car and went flying over it and landed on my neck. And apparently my C5 and C6 had a couple of issues. But fortunately, although I was in the wrong place, I was also in exactly the right place at the same time because I was within the San Diego trauma system. So I was immediately life-flighted 30 miles south to Scripps Memorial Hospital, La Jolla, where they put me into evaluation, and after 4 hours of MRIs and full-body CT scans, they determined that I was in some serious condition and was paralyzed from the neck down, and that's when Dr. Leary came into the show.
Yeah, let me bring in Dr. Leary about this. And so you looked at his case, and you had to think to yourself, well, this is irreparable, perhaps, and what am I going to do here? And you, in fact, managed to save his life and give him his ability to walk back. When you looked at those x-rays, did you say, I can fix this?
Well, you know, Clayton, I see patients with spinal cord injuries more than you might believe, but in John's case, his presentation was so dramatic because he was completely paralyzed from the neck down. He couldn't move a muscle, he couldn't feel anything, but he could still talk to you. I was having a conversation with him just like we are right now. He had no head injury whatsoever, so he was fully aware of the magnitude of his injury. And what happened to John was a massive herniated disc, where the disc itself ruptured back into the spinal cord, causing massive compression of the spinal cord. And when I saw that, even though he went into a condition called spinal shock, which is typically a very ominous sign, meaning that this injury is most likely permanent, I rushed him straight into the operating room. I opened up his neck, exposed the spine, removed the disc herniation, pulled all the fragments off the spinal cord, and then fused his vertebrae together.
And 21 days later, remarkably, 21 days later, he's walking again. John, I have to ask you, I mean, this is uncommon, but does this type of procedure give hope to the millions of Americans who are currently suffering from this type of paralysis? Is this a new frontier?
Well, Clayton, I certainly hope that it does. I remember waking up the next morning in SICU and remembering that before the surgery, I was paralyzed from the neck down, and when I was at the scene, I thought my life was either going to be similar to what Christopher Reeve had to suffer, or I was going to die. So I woke up and I was able to wiggle some fingers and wiggle some toes, and I knew at that point in time that there was hope. I knew I wasn't paralyzed from the waist down, from the neck down. I knew that I would be able to come back as far as my body would let me. So after 7 days of being in SICU and eventually standing up in SICU, I got transferred to Scripps Memorial Hospital Encinitas Rehabilitation Center. And that's where the real hard work started, because when I got there, I was on maximum assist. They had to teach me how to sit up, how to transfer to a wheelchair, how to stand, how to sit back down, how to eat, dress. And for whatever reason, my recovery was just going straight up to the point where on September 1st, 10 days after I got hit, I remember going into the gym and Maria, my therapist, said, John, what do you want to do today? And I said, Maria, I want to walk. So we went over to the parallel bars, and by golly, if I didn't get up, and I was able to walk back and forth for about 250 feet, I was just exhilarated. I walked again in the hallway that afternoon, and I have to tell you a quick side story. That evening, my daughter and her husband, my daughter Megan and her husband Wesley, told my wife Sherry and I that she was pregnant and found out that day. Oh. So what a great day that was for me. I walked for the very first time. I found out about Liam, who later became our first bonus grandchild, who, by the way, happened to be born on Sherry's birthday.
Your story is incredible, John. John, you have a new book coming out. You're writing a book about your experiences. You're giving motivational speeches. Dr. Scott Leary and John, we appreciate you both joining us this morning and sharing your story.
Sure. Thank you so
for
much.
having us.
We look forward to it.
Thanks so much.